No.
No, but we...
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right. Hey, everybody. Hopefully you didn't peep our face at the beginning of that before I pressed the intro video, but hi. If you didn't, hi again. We're back this week with another Mock Draft Monday, except this time it's on Tuesday. But yeah, so I'm here. I'm Michael. This is Andrew and Dan, or at AWL Sabermetrics, and at Andrew Mackins on Twitter. So today we're going to be doing another mock draft on Sleeper. Except this week, instead of Superflex, we're going to try and change it up a little bit and talk about how our strategies change. We're going to go one QB. Dan, anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, I think this allows us to. I think it makes you value position players a little bit more. It's Superflex is easy because you can just pick the quarterback and it's a safe pick. This is really player focused, so I think it's going to be a little bit more fun, a little more exciting to see where people fall.
What do you think, Andrew?
Man, I'm just ready to chill with you guys. It's 4:20. I've got a beer here. We're gonna relax.
Very nice.
Love it.
I know I'm not as deep in the weeds, but Dan and I have been reading the rookie profiles for a draft guide that's coming out soon. We've been teasing that time and time again. So I'm excited to, take what I've learned from those and apply it to this.
Awesome. Well, what do you say we get this started?
Yeah, man, fire it up.
I say let's fire it up.
All right. So we are going to start it. Begin draft. Okay, confirm. There we go. Okay.
So does Pitts take Pitts?
That's a good question. Yo,
I mean, how the fuck not?
Pitts goes. Oh man. Well, that's actually an interesting conversation. I'll bring up right now. So
right off the bat,
this was something I've been thinking about because I've heard different people comment on it. If Kyle Pitts is really who we all think he is, which is basically the next Travis Kelce, the next guy who's going to be the tight end 1, 5 seasons in a row, shouldn't you take him 101? Because Travis Kelce is a cheat code. He will have your team in contention every single season because of the fact that he puts up 15 more points on a week-to-week basis than basically every other tight end.
I think it depends on what your team looks like, truthfully. If you're in rebuild mode, I think yes, because you're planning out for when he hits his prime. Like, I don't know how many people were ready for Travis Kelce to break out right from the get-go, right? Like, it took him... Even Travis Kelce took a few years to get acclimated to being a top tight end in the NFL. So I don't know if you're going to get instant return out of him. That's been my kind of biggest thing when I think about him, like evaluating him throughout all this.
So would you have? Oh, sorry, go on, Dan.
Oh no, I was the same way. I think I don't take Pitts because I'd rather. And it gets in discussion too, right? Like, well, if you draft Pitts, he's not going to hit his rookie year. So, like, you're not going to sell him cheap. I'd still rather pay a 2022 first and a second, or a 2022 first and a 2022 third, or what? Why would I waste a first on a guy that I know isn't going to produce? I'd rather take a Jamar Chase. I'd rather take, a Etienne if he goes to the right spot, a Harris if he goes to the right spot. I'd rather take a guy that's going to produce year one. And then I'll just trade for Pitts. I'll pay the full price. I don't care.
Buy low. You can buy low after a year, eventually.
Most tight ends don't lose any value in startup drafts. I think Peter Howard, was on Tommy's on 2-on-1 last night. He was talking about that typically tight ends basically lose no value in startup drafts after year one, even if they do nothing.
And I think in a Twitter conversation, I got in, I was going back and forth with DTC, the trade calculator guy. And it's the same thing, but it's like, it's almost a buy low in the sense of like, I expect you to produce so much more that I'm buying low on expected value. So I will still pay a 2022 first plus for Pitts at the end of this year rather than investing now. Because I'd rather take a Jamar Chase and then get Pitts year 2 than just have Pitts, for example.
There will be people out there willing to trade him if he doesn't hit immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so I'm on the clock. This is actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. I feel like I'm going to make Dan's life a little bit harder. I did not expect this player to get to me, the one who I'm going to take. I was a little surprised actually that Jalen Waddle went before this guy, but I kind of put myself here hoping that the top 3 running backs, the top 2 wide receivers, and the top tight end would be gone. But my wide receiver 2 is still on the board, so I'm going to take him. And it was pretty easy. Sorry, Dan. That was a pretty easy one for me.
That was my guess of who you were going to go for.
That was my fear. You know, that's actually, I just finished listening to Jackson Larky's latest pod, where they were talking about, you know, Bateman and who to pick, and, you know, where do you fall on Devonta Smith? And I'm still really torn on it, to be honest. You know, he's a stud. You don't win the Heisman if you're not really good at football, and he's shown to be really good at football. And I understand the whole BMI argument, yada, yada, yada. I get it. 170 is still light, and honestly, I don't think he weighs that, because if he weighed 170, he would have stepped on a scale.
I mean, he's the dude that can't. Oh, you think he weighs less than 170?
Oh, yeah.
Fair enough.
Bateman?
No.
No.
Smith.
Oh, you're talking about Smith. Okay. Yeah.
I think if he weighed that much, he would have stepped on a scale and proved it. Honestly, that's how I look at it.
Fair point.
I know he's fast. I know he's good. You can watch him play, and you know he's really good. It is hard to, like, do you bet on that outlier? And I don't know if I want to. So with me, I'm going to take a guy that a lot of people like. Larky likes. I know a lot of other people like as well. And Terrace Marshall. I think he is going to be a 2nd round pick. He could be someone that, like, the Bengals go Penei Sewell.
Basically T. Higgins last year.
Yeah. So that's where I'm going. I think it's just a little bit safer than Devonta, but I still really like him. I'm still torn, you know, where I end up fully taking him.
Yeah, he's rising fast, which scares me a little bit. I think I liked him a lot more when his ADP was down, because I think I liked the value. I still like the player, but he has red flags, and that does worry me. But I mean, he seems like a really good player. I think he's going to be a very good NFL player. So I'm intrigued to see how that translates to fantasy. We saw Devonta Smith go 1 after Terrace Marshall. So Devonta Smith was actually the wide receiver 5 off the board. Andrew, where's your head at?
So I just realized that our boy Steve at Fantasy Dukes is 1 pick behind me again in this mock draft. And so
we know what's happening.
I thought about being nice a second time and going QB here, but hasn't been a quarterback taken yet. And so I'm not willing to be the one to start the run. I'm taking Rondale Moore. This guy's an absolute specimen. I had to snipe Dukes for the content, but I think, you know, as I think about this pick, and last week I was saying, you know, I think I picked Terrace Marshall over him because I'm thinking about these guys, like a guy like Rondale Moore is a small wide receiver that has to be used a certain way. But I feel like if any coach that's going out of the way to draft Rondale Moore knows that they're going to have to scheme him a certain way, and they're not going to try to fit like a square peg into a round hole. So I just know, like, the league has kind of been moving towards that smaller ball and getting guys open in space and letting them, you know, use their playmaking ability, making guys miss, taking it to the house. So that's what you're looking for with Rondale Moore, and that's what I'm putting my faith in here.
For those of you that don't know, Fantasy Dukes, Steve, another member of the Undroppables, he went to Purdue. He's a big Rondale Moore fan, so I'm sure he's wiping tears off his face right now as he's not able to get his guy. But I do want to back up a little bit because we kind of skipped over a lot of the early guys. We saw Jamar Chase go 1 overall, which I'm totally fine with personally. Yeah. I think you know, he could be a stud for 15 years in the NFL, you know, and that's, you don't pass on that. We did see Travis Etienne go over Najee Harris. That actually matches my ranks. I have Etienne number 1. I have Harris 2. I think landing spot and draft capital is going to be a big decider for me for them. But right now I like Etienne better. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think I agree. The landing spot is going to be huge. I tweeted out the other day too. I think like everyone forgot the whole Najee Harris met with like everyone from the Steelers organization on like a Zoom call. My only concern is they draft him, round 1. They need to fix that line in round 2 and round 3.
Yep.
Whoever they take needs that offensive line help. Where if Etienne goes somewhere that has a better offensive line, I'm going to lean him because the pass catching. Granted,
Yeah.
Najee's a great pass catcher too. So landing spot, I think, is the deciding factor for those two. Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. And then we saw Kyle Pitts go fourth, which again, we talked a lot about him at the beginning. And then, so we actually have a JB Cho knows. He's actually watching right now. I'm going to bring up his comment. He said he was thinking about Smith or Javonte. He was surprised that Smith didn't go with the next pick, and I bet he's even more surprised that it didn't go the next 3 picks. But he went with Javonte since wide receiver is pretty deep, which I tend to agree with. I think it's a very, very, it's very heavy at the top for running backs, whereas wide receivers, I think there's an argument for a lot of different guys. What do you guys think about Javonte Williams, where the drop-off is, all that kind of stuff?
Oh, you muted, Mac.
Yeah, Mac, you're muted still. You can do it.
Oh, Dan, you don't want to fill the dead air? I think you're right on the money there. Like Javonte Williams' pick is influenced a lot by the positional scarcity. Like we did this mock last time, and pretty much if I wasn't getting one of the top 3 guys, I wanted to fade running back a lot more. And so that I'm sure that's why you see that run of wide receiver too. Like Chuba Hubbard and Kenny Gainwell at the end of the round is, I guess just because that tier of wide receivers kind of ended, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, the tier of wide receivers did not end. I do have Chuba Hubbard. I have him right there at number 3 or 4. I go back and forth every day with the running back 3-4. I like Chuba a lot. I think if he had come out last year, I said this last week, if he had come out last year, he would have been, a top 5 pick. And he had one rough year, and he is older, and that is a shot against him, but he had a rough year in a rough situation with a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. I think he's going to get better draft capital than we're expecting, and he's really close to that top tier of running backs for me, if he's not there already. But I do think it's a Travis Etienne and Najee Harris tier for me, and then probably a second tier after that.
But then in terms of wide receivers, you thought would you have taken Tylan Wallace over Chuba Hubbard? Because I know you like him a lot.
I do like Tylan Wallace. I might have taken Chuba first. Again, I think this is a decision that'll probably change by day, but that's again because of the position scarcity. I think Tylan Wallace in a vacuum is probably a better prospect than Chuba. But after Gainwell, and I'm not even really sure how I feel about Gainwell, but after Gainwell, there's not a lot of really dynamic running backs in this class, or at least not that we know of yet. Not ones that were guaranteed to get the draft capital that should help them have success at the next level. So while I think in the next tier of wide receivers, like I have Chase and Bateman kind of in their own tier, and then there's just a bunch of guys that I really like. So
yeah, I think that's going to be the hardest part is like there's a couple running backs that I like, but they're going to go late. So like there's one guy in particular, I won't say just yet because I don't know how far he'll fall. Mac has done the edits, so he probably knows at least one of my answers here. But it's tough with the running back position being so draft capital dependent, where it's like I'm gonna fade after the top 3 of Etienne, Harris, and Williams. Yeah, I'm gonna fade. I'm gonna take the stab at the wide receivers. Even like Tylan Wallace has his issues, but he's probably going to go earlier than the 5th round. If Chuba goes in the 4th and Tylan goes in the 3rd, I'm going to take the guy with the higher draft capital, better situation. So
yeah,
it's a hard year. I think running backs, there's going to be a diamond in the rough somewhere. There always is.
There always is.
I'm just going to keep taking wide receivers, I think, because there's the running back class we're elevating guys too much, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm sure that happens every year out of general position scarcity. Like someone's trying to find the next
Keyshawn
Antonio
Vaughn.
Gibson, or Keyshawn Vaughn's another story. But I think everyone's trying to find the next Antonio Gibson, or James Robinson for that matter. But it's interesting you brought up before, like, Wallace has his issues, but he's better than most of the running backs. And then Trey Sermon is this guy who seems to be shooting up, like, especially if he ends up, like, I feel like the whispers are the NFL likes him a lot, and that he might get drafted earlier than we originally expected. So he might see an opportunity, or at least a pathway to it down the road. But is it going to push him up your guys' rookie boards?
I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about him still, to be honest. I'm not.
We've been on him, like Term said. We've been on Sermon a bit.
Yeah.
We're hot on the tail.
So Matt Waldman is on Jax's pod this week, and he has Trey Sermon as his running back 1. That's Matt Waldman with the RSP rookie scouting profile, I believe. And he has Trey Sermon as his RB1 over Najee, over Travis. And someone who's in this mock actually just texted me and said Trey Sermon will be a first-round pick in rookie mocks or in rookie drafts when it's all said and done. And I don't disagree. I think he is going to be the scouting portfolio, rookie scouting portfolio. I think he's going to get draft capital. He's going to go to a place, and I think he's going to be that Keyshawn Vaughn type guy where he's going to go end of first, top of second, and we probably overdraft him. Oh, I'm going to go really out of character here.
God damn it.
Oh yes, that's a good noise.
He tilted so hard that he lagged into the back of his wall.
Twice now.
Hey, we were getting there, man. I was thinking about that too at my pick, but clearly I'm too far down here.
I was going to say, Jamar Chase and then Trevor Lawrence, the 101, and like, that's great. I think that's a fantastic draft so far. And even like Term just said, like team 2, Etienne and Elijah. And Term and I both love Elijah more, so that might be part of it, but like, fantastic value for both of those guys. Justin Fields, I was praying was going to fall to me.
So
I think that's pretty far.
I did not see myself taking a QB here. There was actually one guy I was hoping to wait on, but so Michael Carter, I got sniped by my cousin Ben. And Michael Carter was kind of the end of that running back that I'm like, all right, I think that they could get drafted into a really good situation. I'm willing to take that shot. And Amon-Ra St. Brown was kind of the end of another wide receiver tier for me. He was kind of below Tylan Wallace, but there's other wide receivers that I like, but I think a lot of them are. I think there's going to be a bunch of guys that make it to me in the 3rd round, so I didn't want to reach on one. But yeah, that's kind of where I was at. I think Justin Fields is the 2nd best QB in this class. I think if he goes to a place that puts him in a position to start early, I think he's going to be a fantasy contributor early. But where are you at, Dan? Now that you've gotten sniped.
Well, I can do 2 things. I can reach on a wide receiver that I like, or reach on a quarterback I like.
Thank you, Term. Nothing quite like victory laps during a rookie mock.
Yeah, right. So Nico Collins.
Interesting. Tell me.
Significant reach. I know it's a big reach. I don't yell at me.
You got to get your guy.
I think Tell me why. Tell me why.
Here's why. I like to listen to like smart people. So for example, John Lobb loves Nico Collins. I have a very other than John, there does seem to be, thank you, Term. I appreciate that. There seems to be a lot of buzz about Nico going a lot earlier than we think because people in the fantasy community forget about him. He is a good athlete, kind of that X receiver type. Yes, I definitely probably could have gotten him in the 3rd. I very much understand that. I think I'm gonna reach on a guy that I think goes earlier. That I think once rookie drafts actually start, he's going to going in like the late 2nd round. If he gets that 2nd round draft capital, 2.8 might even be too late for him.
If he gets 2nd round draft capital, I will buy you a beer. I'm saying that
you're
live.
Hand deliver it.
I will not hand deliver it, but I will have someone deliver it to you.
I mean, I'll send you my address. That's okay.
I will do that. Because I like Nico Collins. Don't get me wrong. I'm actually a big fan of him. I have him. He's in my top 15 at least. But I
mean,
I like
Dan,
him.
he is.
But I think that was a reach, and that's not at all because I don't like him. I do like him. He strikes me as basically the exact opposite that you said, which is I think he's a guy that a lot of guys in the fantasy industry like, but the NFL won't like as much.
Interesting.
Like, I'm trying to think of examples, but it happens every year where there's always these guys that we get really hype about, and then all of a sudden they go undrafted, and it's like, oh shoot. And I don't think he's going to go undrafted.
Yeah,
but if we're hoping and praying that he gets day 2 draft capital and he goes in the 5th or 6th round, then that's a massive difference in his chances to succeed and his opportunity. So
yeah. I mean, that would be rough. But like realistically, looking at the wide receivers, I like at this turn, you have Kadarius Toney, which maybe. I guess I could have gone with Diami. A lot of people love him. I just need to learn more about him, I guess. I could have gone with him. Tamorian Terry, I think at 2.8.
I was thinking about him at 2.5, 2.7, 2.7.
Yeah. My other option would have been I was going Trey Lance. If it wasn't Nico, it was going to be Trey Lance. In real life, I probably would have gone with Lance. Yeah.
I considered him above Fields, and this brings forward a conversation that I witnessed. I guess it was a podcast or something, but it was just it was kind of right along with how I've been feeling lately about 1 QB versus Superflex, especially with this class where Lance is probably the 3rd or 4th guy off the board because you don't know when he's going to start, and in Superflex obviously you need that immediate production, especially when you're taking a guy that high, or you want to take the guy with the immediate production. But I think he might have the highest fantasy ceiling of anyone in this class just because of his insane rushing ability. I mean, he might enter the NFL as already a top 3 in rushing ability at the quarterback position. And that might give him, I mean, by the time he's playing, which again, it's one quarterback, so you don't need him necessarily to play right away. By the time he's playing, his ceiling might just be far and away the best. Yeah. And that's kind of where I think it's worth taking that shot. So I think I'm in lockstep with you on that one.
Mm-hmm. So Mac, you went Diami. What are your thoughts there?
Damn it, Seth Williams.
Yeah, I was pretty much thinking about this grouping of wide receivers towards the end of the round. I alluded a little bit to my one QB dynasty league where I'm thinking about who's going to fall to me at the end of the second. And Diami Brown's a guy who's kind of popped up on my radar because I follow Hayden Winks, who's now at Underdog, and he put out a good tweet about all of his, basically his highlight reel of him crushing people deep, and that his first step is just going to make people kind of stutter every time. So seeing that and the ability to do it consistently, and the fact that he's only 21, those are a few different things that kind of piqued my curiosity compared to like a Kadarius Toney.
Yeah. Yeah, I know his name gets floated out too a lot of, even within the, significantly higher than where he just went. I'm curious. I want to learn a little bit more about him too, to see where he falls in within that Elijah, Tylan Wallace, St. Brown.
Shit. Guys are talking to me.
I need to dig deeper on Diami and Tamorian Terry, because I know you guys are throwing some cold water on him when I think I picked him last time.
Woodson is doing a great job.
Good job, Woodson.
I mean, he must work for PFN because it's right in his name, or he must contribute for him.
Etienne,
he knows what he's doing.
He's fucking killing it. Yeah.
Terry's a guy I've been liking a lot more recently. So I recently put out the findings of my my initial rookie wide receiver model, and he tested a lot better than I expected him to. I expected him to not really test out that well, and he performed really well, which made me kind of start looking into him a lot more. And I considered him at the 2.7. I thought he would fall to me, actually.
I think when we did this draft before, I feel like he was early third and could be like late second in one QB drafts, but he seems to be kind of fluctuating between that. Like, is he a third round? Is he a second round?
Yeah.
Like, he jumps off the page from a physical standpoint.
He's an athletic freak.
He's also like an older guy. Like that was the decision I made here. And maybe it's just recency bias, but thinking about guys who really produce at a younger age is super important. We can't undervalue that. And I think, Tamorrion Terry's, I don't think he's an early declare because he's like 23. So he must have broke out in his senior year. Correct me if I'm wrong. So that was like a big difference for me there.
Yeah, Terry, it's tough where, I think everyone was expecting him to test slightly better than he did. I think there's the level of too, his quarterback play was so shitty that like, it's hard to always blame him on stuff, but he does have a lot of bad drops on tape. So it's, there's even a lot of guys that, people that I really like at the Astronauts, JPG and Rish or, Tendy Man. They like him and they don't like him for those exact reasons. So I think Terry is like firmly in the third round for me. And anywhere from 3-1 to, 3-12. So yeah, like term, right? You like your wide receivers to be able to catch. That's fair. That's where I think he's firmly in the third round. I'll take a stab in the third on him. Anything before that, I start to get very weary of like, can he actually catch?
I think, I don't know. It doesn't worry me that much. And I think the biggest reason is that at least from what, thank God, Ben didn't snipe another one of my picks. I was about to be so angry. I had a guy queued up and everything. But from what I've seen, like not like having drop issues in college isn't a huge, like it doesn't correlate to drop issues in the NFL that often. And not in any type of strong way. It doesn't correlate negatively to fantasy success. And I think a big reason for that is just, coaching and like you focus on different things. And I'm not here, like, I'm not going to say it's not an issue. I think that alone does not turn me off of him when there's a lot of other good stuff going on with him. Because you look at a guy like, and I am not making this comparison, but DK Metcalf had a lot of red flags from like a lot of different analytical perspective and a lot of different, like very raw type of thing. And again, not a one-to-one comparison, but once you get to the NFL, like for the most part, these are good coaches for a reason. And if he puts in the time, then hopefully it just doesn't become an issue. But what the heck is Jake asking me? But I am going to draft my queued player. I'm taking Elijah Mitchell. I looked at my ranks and I saw that he was still there, and I was pretty shocked. I guess I'm higher on him than consensus, which I didn't really realize. Again, I think after the top couple of guys, there's not going to be a lot of workhorses in this draft, or at least, I don't think we have a really good chance of figuring out who they are. But Elijah Mitchell is fairly electric. I think he graded out really well for me. I'm a fan of his, and I look forward to hopefully him getting a draft capital. That would be nice.
Yeah,
but I'm a fan.
My running back this round was Jamar. So was it Mr. Meeseeks there or whatever his name is?
Mr. Meeseeks.
Mr. Meeseeks.
That's Andrew's friend.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if he's my friend, but I think I've seen him in the Twitterverse.
He tested awful. So I think that's hurting him a lot. But I really liked what I saw when I watched him play. So I still want to see him. It depends on where he goes. But if he goes to the right team, I still will be in on Jamar. I just really like him. But this pick is easy for me at this point. I'm going to take the player with by far the highest upside, even though frankly, in a super flex, I'm not sold. But Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
That's who I was hoping for, man.
Yeah.
I think now is the time to look at quarterback.
Yep.
If you missed on Fields in the second.
Mm-hmm. And like well, he hates my draft so far.
But who does?
Yeah, I'm gonna take Zach
JB
Wilson.
Cho.
in a one QB league, he's going to be a starter from day one. He's going to have a couple years to at least attempt to start. And at the end of the day, who is a good quarterback evaluator?
Me.
Is the NFL good at it?
No.
Chris Sims.
Is anyone in the fantasy community good at it?
No.
No. So no one knows what the hell we're doing in a quarterback. You're taking a guess. So in the back half of the third round, even in a one quarterback league, I'll take a guy with a really big upside. If he hits, great. If he doesn't, Ramondre Stevenson, who am I going to take? I'm going to take the quarterback. I'm going to take the dude that
I'm the Hope Simpson hedge meme. I was about to click on Ramondre Stevenson.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just undercut you.
Nah, you're good. You're good. I'm still shopping here.
All right. Well, while you're shopping, I wanna answer a question from the audience. I was asked, do I think Evan McPherson's talent will translate well to the NFL? So that is a kicker for the Florida Gators. So from an article that I'm reading right now, he is one of the top kickers in the nation, and his leg strength and consistency will make him an attractive late-round draft selection for a team in need of a kicker. So that was a New York beat writer that wrote that about the Jets. So I'm going to go with yes. That's my official kicker take for the rookie draft season. Where are we at, Andrew? 3, 2?
I'm taking that final QB. If it goes through.
Oh,
what?
No.
Andrew, you didn't take a QB.
Clicked on. What the fuck?
All right, well, there's Ramondre.
Literally, no, it said 45 seconds on Sleeper. What did you just...
So how do you feel about Ramondre Stevenson?
All right, well, Garrett Blunt gets a lot of early... We talked about this on our last mock draft.
Well, talk about it
a lot of early down work and touchdown equity, so great job for Ramondre Stevenson.
What team would you like to see?
I literally just clicked on Mac Jones, unless there was like a glitch on my computer, but maybe he'll fall to me.
That's awesome.
Okay, before we get into these other picks, what I did want to talk about, like, as we get through the fourth round, like, seriously, how we evaluate, like, when to take a quarterback or a tight end amongst all these running backs. And
I was about to bring up the tight ends, yeah.
Take it away then, Michael.
Yeah, so obviously you have Kyle Pitts in the first round. Personally, the way that I've always approached it in rookie drafts for one QB leagues and non-tight end premium, one tight end, whatever, is the way that I like to build my teams is just with kind of a lot of shots. I don't typically take the like the Kyle Pitts or the Pat Fryermuths. I will normally lean more toward the Brevin Jordans and the Hunter Longs, but I always make sure I have like 3 or 4 of them on my roster.
Here's Mac.
That being said, I also like to trade all of my first round picks for George Kittle, Travis Kelce, and Evan Ingram consecutively. My team name is the Tight End Factory for a reason. But behind Travis Kelce, I have Irv Smith, I have Adam Troutman. I have a lot of guys that I was pretty high on, but I didn't have to take them until the 4th or 5th round. So I'm just, because of what tight ends are outside of Kyle Pitts, and knowing that even if they don't lose value, they're not really going to produce in year one, and it shouldn't be too hard to trade for them, even if you give up equal value, but gain a year in terms of their equity. I'm never really going to spend up for tight ends in a non-tight end premium, start one tight end, because I think that I can get equally good shots in the later rounds. Like Hunter Long is a guy that, you know, he fulfills a lot of the physical attributes that you look for in tight ends, because speed, score, and height and weight actually translate and correlate fairly well among tight ends to fantasy success, unlike other positions. So I'd rather spend a 4th round pick on Hunter Long than a 2nd round pick on Pat Fryermuth, in my opinion.
Interesting. Yeah, I think, you know, that game theory piece of it, I'm pretty lockstep with you. Kyle Pitts is his own beast, and after that, it's better to fade and not pick the tight end and then trade for them later.
Oh,
and you know, just like we were talking about, you know, with the Kyle Pitts thing, even if it's not buying at, you're not like getting them for a second, you're still paying a first, you know, for Kyle Pitts, for example, like, in a way, you're still buying them low because you're expecting them to outproduce that pick value.
Yep.
So I'd still rather wait to year 2 to buy, or even year 3, and like not have the roster drain of like, yeah, I have this dude, but he's not going to mean anything until 2 years down the road.
And I
Give me
spent a
someone
second round
that
pick
can
on him.
produce right away. So
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I'm very much, you know, don't draft tight ends, trade for them once they show that they're good. Because even at the end of the day, even if you wait till year 5 and they're like Travis Kelce and he's good, know that they're good. The tight end position is trash.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, it's hard to predict tight end breakouts, but it also isn't. It's very hard to predict the next Travis Kelce because there isn't one. Like there's almost never one of them. I mean, Darren Waller is such a special case, just given everything that he went through. But it's easy to predict what tight ends will be the tight end, 4 through 10, generally speaking. Like there's not that many surprising names in there. It's the Mike Gesicki's of the world, the Mark Andrews, like a lot of guys that, you're like, okay, I can see him taking a step forward this season. I'm going to go trade a 3rd round rookie pick for him. Fine.
Mhm.
That's fine. So I'm right there with you. I don't know who I'm going to pick here. I was hoping Jarrett Patterson would fall to me. But Mark took him, and I'm angry now.
Mark got you on that one.
I could take the 155-pound Tutu Atwell. No, I'm not going to do that.
You'll be on 0 teams, Mud. 0 teams.
Yeah, he's not going to be on any of mine. It was funny. I was actually watching. Oh, good Lord. I was watching a PA Howdy stream last night, and I reminded him that Tutu Atwell was 155 pounds, and the look on his face as he was like live reading that was just incredible, because he had to like go back into his database and look and be like, holy shit, he's actually 155 pounds.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to weigh in at that.
Yeah, he's like a freshman in high school. He's tiny.
Oh God.
I have a couple names here.
You're really sweating this mock.
I really am, dude.
I already forgot that I didn't draft Mac Jones.
All right, I'm gonna take this guy.
Yeah.
So Puka Williams, I don't pretend to be a huge Puka Williams fan. I think that he's another one of those kind of shots in the later rounds for running backs. But for me, there's a pretty decent drop. Well, I do have my sleeper, but I don't have to take him till the 5th round. So that's okay.
No,
yeah. I know. We all know. It's fine. But there was a pretty big drop off there. Basically at every position. There was not really a guy that I was really excited about, which is what happens when you get to the 4th round. Ideally, I think I would have rather taken a shot on a wide receiver, but a lot of the guys that I like, or I would have liked to take a shot on, had already gone. So, also, I was just reminded that Todd Pinkston was 180 pounds. And honestly, that's not a good thing. I don't want to ever be compared to Todd Pinkston. All I remember I remember a lot about him because I'm an Eagles fan, but I remember him in NFL, NFL Street 2, and he would just like constantly drop the ball because he was so small and he would die because you're like hitting them with these power-ups and crap. So anyway, little throwback. Dan, where are you at?
So I have a couple names here, but I think one of them could fall, or hopefully one of them falls to make my 5th round a lot easier. So I'm going to go with Cornell Powell here from Clemson. He seems to be a guy that a lot of guys like, as a sleeper later on in the draft. Some good hands. This is honestly someone that I haven't done a lot of work with, but people that I know, someone like again, I've talked about him before, Tendy Man, has, Rish has tweeted about him, or I've spoken with him, in the DMs, as someone to keep an eye out for. So, I think one of the smart things to do, right, is if you know somebody that you trust and they tell you to keep an eye on this player, keep an eye on him. So someone in the late round, I think he has some really good value there in the 4th. And I'm hoping that I have 2 more names in my queue. I'm hoping one of them falls to me at the 5th.
What positions? I already know who I'm drafting in the 5th round. So what position?
Oh, yeah. You're not going to snipe me. I don't know about the people before you, though.
We'll keep it above board here.
Andrew, what were you thinking with Anthony Schwartz?
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking I don't know how to get off of auto draft, so I just filled my queue with some wide receivers. But
hey, fair enough.
I was actually between Cornell Powell and Anthony Schwartz, just jumped over to the player profiler machine over there and noticed Schwartz looked to have some more, like, again, younger, like breakout age and production kind of, I don't know, like, it looks like from a numbers standpoint, yeah, like he's known as the speedster, and he tends to pop off the page a little bit more from a statistical standpoint. It looked like, just like percentile wise. So that's why I went for him.
Yeah, and I think that's the way to go, right? In the 4th round, just find the athlete and see what happens.
Yeah, it was between those two and Marquez Stevenson, because I know he's been mentioned a lot as well, but he kind of, I think he had his breakout and then he had like pretty bad season last year.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well,
like
I'll tell you this, Mac. He won't fall to you in this mock, so I would just take him off the queue if he's your guy.
At least just being honest.
No, I've got like a filler position, a la like a Michael Duncan strategy here. So it doesn't matter who you take.
So you're thinking Jalen Darden.
Yep.
Nope. I'm gonna pick someone else.
Do you think at some level it's just like this is everyone? Everyone's like, oh, Darden's the guy, so like everyone jumps on board so they can all say they like him. I feel like it's gotten to that level with him.
I mean, everyone's tailing someone in one way or another with these picks, right? Like, unless you're actually like scouting's your full-time job. So I like with De'Ami Brown pick, I was thinking like, I'm pretty sure no one in the Undroppables really likes Kadarius Toney. So I'm going to take a shot at De'Ami Brown here. You know, it's a mock. Want to see how that turns out. But yeah, as you go down into the 4th, 5th rounds, it's like, who the hell has name recognition left anymore? And so if it's someone that we're profiling, that might pop out to me, or if it's someone that I've heard, you know, mention on another podcast, like Cornell Powell, like I didn't hear of him until last week. But now, because I know he's this guy at Clemson who, you know, has some redeeming qualities, like I'm mean to research him more, as well as Anthony Schwartz.
Yeah. Kellen Mond, I like that pick.
Yeah, I'm surprised of the quarterbacks that have gone.
Is Mac? Oh no, sorry.
I'm surprised that
Mac Jones is not available.
Davis Mills hasn't gone. I'm a little surprised.
Is he really going to go in the 2nd round of the
Davis?
I'm telling. Well, okay. Well,
people are tailing us live on stream.
Yeah. I was going to take Davis Mills because I wanted to talk about him.
So I know you guys jumped into tight end, but did we talk about quarterback at all? Because like my 3rd round pick was going to be Mac Jones, because there's a legit chance that he starts right away. You can evaluate him right away. You don't have to sit on his potential like a Jordan Love or like a Kellen Mond, who's going to be a backup in his rookie year. So I like getting one of those top 5 guys if you can in like the 3rd or 4th round. Like, I mean, the Fields and Lawrence should definitely go in the 2nd round at the latest in a 1 QB, right? And then from there, you know, see if one of the other 3 falls to you in the 3rd. Is that how you would go about it?
Yeah, I think I'm still very much in the idea that San Francisco takes Trey Lance, to be honest. I've come around on that because I think it fits with the fact that Jimmy G starts this year. Lance, because he hasn't played in a year, coming off the 1AA jump, sits for a year and takes over in 2022. Jimmy G's dead cap next year, if they just cut him, is like $1 million. So he means nothing. So I think they take Lance. And I think that presents a really interesting scenario is if that truly happens, where does Lance go in drafts? Because I don't think he starts this year if he goes to San Francisco. I
but
still
with
take
the idea,
yeah,
with the idea being that he starts in 2022.
I still take him in the 3rd because I think he's good. And in that
he
system,
definitely has. Yeah. Oh yeah. The system, he's got the upside from a talent perspective, which you kind of want to shoot for. Good pick, Michael.
Thanks.
I know Tommy's been on Trey McKitty. And like you were saying, pick like basically the last tight end of the crop available. So
yeah, and I think he has the I think generally speaking, I need to double check this, but I believe he has at least the physical tools that kind of you know, can signal some type of success.
Yeah.
And obviously we all know who I really wanted to pick. But
Hashtag
draft Aquan. But I always feel bad, especially in these live mocks, drafting, Scott Plumgardner or Pluntzgardner or whatever his name was.
You're
And then like having to be like,
hoping,
and having to be like, oh, actually, it's not that
fucking
guy.
up the ADP, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Not that guy.
Um,
But yeah, to jump back to the quarterback talk real quick. I think once it hits the second round, take the upside guys, because who presents the most value? Right? Trey Lance in the third is amazing value. Zach Wilson, whether you like him or not, and I'm not really sold, he could be really good. Yes, him, or you got autoed, so I'm not calling you out, but like it's like him or Ramadre, or like him or Dwayne Eskridge, him or Javian Hawkins. Like,
I thought you said I got autoed again, and I was like panicking because I'm on a different tab.
No. So like, and that's what it comes down to, is like, I'm going to take the upside guys. And at the end of the day, like, the quarterback position presents a ton of upside. So I think in a one quarterback league, I'm going to take that quarterback, especially, in round 3, if they're still there. Zach Wilson's going to start from day 1.
Yeah.
Now, I hate the Jets landing spot, but he's going to start. So I'm going to take him.
Well, I finally got my QB, but that's a replacement pick, which I'll get to in a second. I like that Kyle Trask pick, actually.
Yeah. Warren Jackson.
I like the point you made with like getting at least one quarterback if you do have 5 picks of like this style in a rookie draft, because tomorrow's not promised. Tomorrow wasn't promised to Deshaun Watson. Tomorrow it's not promised for whoever your starting quarterback is in one of these leagues. So having depth is still helpful in a 1 QB fantasy league. But moving off a quarterback, my 5th round pick, I'm going to stand for someone new that I've learned about through Mark Mathick, kind of similar to a Jaquan Hardy, and that's Jake Funk. Jake Funk is a running back that I would much rather take a stab at in the 5th round than like Ramondre Stevenson in the 3rd. I just sent this to you in the private chat, Michael, if you want to pull up our FF Devil Master June's tweet, but
sure.
I think he's a running back out of Maryland. I think he doesn't have a great player comp, but 63rd percentile dominator, 98th percentile yards per carry. He's got 82nd percentile burst, 97th percentile agility. So is that built like CMC? I don't know if that's exactly accurate. Maybe he's more built like Bryce Love or something. But that picture, I mean, that's when you're just like,
bang. Jake Funk Railroad.
Jaw drops to the floor like a Tex Avery cartoon.
Yeah, shout out to at Master June 70. He was in this draft. He drafted from the 4 hole, I believe, and he had a really good draft. Yeah, he did really well. He took a couple of my guys.
Everyone probably drafted better than me, but I was glad to be part of it.
There it is. Draft Drake Funk. Yeah, that's what we like.
He honestly, my thought is he looks more like a workout warrior than like the next NFL athlete, but I got to look into some of his tape and see what we see from, if he's going. I'm wondering where like Wisconsin great Garrett Groshek is going in drafts.
Oh man. Yeah, there was a couple guys that I was thinking about in that last round, because there's a lot of guys I think that I really like as like possible just waiver wire fodder or kind of long shot pickups. Obviously Jalen Darden was there and we talked about him a little bit, but there was a couple wide receivers that I was actually hoping were in the player pool that I could take and talk about. But Mike Strachan, one of those two, he's a small school guy at Charleston. Produced pretty well. Produced fairly well, actually. He's another Master June guy. Turned me on to him, but obviously just small school and kind of that works against prospects a lot of the time. But he was a guy that I was looking at and I was hoping was in the player pool. Des Fitzpatrick is a guy I think I like a little bit. Cade Johnson, another guy, and Josh Imatura Torbahibi.
You murdered that.
I know.
Not in a good way.
Yeah, no, not in a good way at all. He was another wide receiver. I'm pretty sure he's like insanely athletic, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he's insanely athletic.
You know who's not in there that Kyle Larson mentioned last time we did this was Simi Fioco.
Yeah,
and I think he's out of Stanford, so I don't know if that matters, but I started looking up those NFL draft grades, and he's right up in the same tier as like Powell, and even probably like I forgot if it's Sage Surratt or someone else. Like I have this bookmark now because I find those draft grades fascinating. No one really talks about the NFL's draft grades, and from what I've seen,
NFL.com.
Yeah, like the NFL.com/prospects.
People
you can go
like
look at all the grades they've given.
Yeah.
People like the
dive
running
deep
back
again,
ones
but-
a lot, I think.
Mhm.
I remember there was a lot of talk about how actually good they are, like how well they correlate. I know like someone took like all of them and like, you know, actually found the
I
correlation.
thought that
was
they
really
did.
strong.
Yeah.
I believe it was
Did-
the running back grades.
Okay, so never mind.
It would be
I was
good
wondering
to see.
if
I
Dwayne
mean,
Eskridge went in this draft, and he went at the end of the third. Sorry, go ahead, Dan.
Oh no, I was gonna say because like I know especially last year for like our draft guide that we did, I use those a lot too to help gauge guys. And like this time I didn't because I wanted to like just watch it myself and like not take in any, outside opinion.
Yeah. Mhm.
But yeah, I remember finding them even last year. It was like very helpful, and it would be interesting, if the running back ones are good, how does it match up with with everything else? To see. So that's something that it's another data point that could be really, really
Yeah.
meaningful.
I think the wide receivers are super fascinating looking at the list, just because it was actually what's interesting is this guy out of South Dakota State, Cade Johnson, is 100th of a point lower in grade than Rashad Bateman. And going upward, it's Cade Johnson, Rashad Bateman, Nico Collins, and then Terrace Marshall, and it continues to go up. There's like 5-6 more guys. So, but like, I don't know if these grades really factor in. I feel like they're film grades or something just based on raw talent, and that they don't factor in the school they went to, right? Like, because South Dakota State, like you're probably, ripping and tearing on smaller schools.
Yeah, you should do well. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And and then what's interesting is like De'Ami Brown has been getting a lot of pub, but he's like down 2/200ths of a point graded lower than Cornell Powell. And I don't know. So I don't know if school factors in there or not, but North Carolina isn't known to be like a super competitive like program generally, but we have a lot of prospects coming out of there.
Matt Collins.
Yeah, and Mitchell Trubisky, right? Like I don't know.
Collins wasn't good either, don't worry.
And yet Tamorian Terry's got a grade of 6.15. So I'm always curious, like this grade is just a number, but it's coming from a reputable site. And we don't really know I don't really know how that number is developed.
Yeah,
it's got a player bio, it's got overview, strengths and weaknesses, a player comp. So it feels like it's pretty much like 100% film. I don't know what metrics they're looking at other than height, weight, arms, hands. That's all the information you have. I'll send you guys this Tamorian Terry one.
Yeah, it would be interesting.
That's me getting on my soapbox for NFL.com again. So
is this a paid advertisement?
This is not a paid ad.
Darn. I was hoping we were about to make bank. Right? All right, so I do want to do the same exercise we did last time. I want everyone to pick their favorite pick or two that they didn't make in this draft. Tell us why, whatever. I can go if nobody else is ready, or if one of you guys. Bang! Yeah. All right, go, Dan.
You sniped me at 107 and 207. Because you're a bastard. No,
I'm pretty great.
If you made different picks, my draft would have gone Rashad Bateman, Justin Fields. So I think those are two very easy picks for me. If I guess I was gonna give love to someone other than yourself, I really loved. I think we talked about even earlier too what Woodson did.
Yeah,
Elijah Moore, then Trey Lance,
and Travis Etienne. I like Hunter Long.
Yep. Javian Hawkins at 401, I thought was, is a really good value that late. So there's a lot, I think, but yeah, you stick out to me just because you're right ahead of me and you sniped me both times.
Thank you. Angie, you got any?
I was gonna say 207 as well, but Dan took that, so I won't pump up Michael anymore. Because I think Fields could end up like he has more upside than even Trevor Lawrence potentially. Like we don't know. Like
his rushing ability and Trevor's I think underrated as a rusher.
Trevor.
Hey, no. Hey, you're not gonna find a bigger Trevor Lawrence fan. Like I love the dude. I think he's very underrated as a rusher.
Yeah.
Well, without getting too into it, I told Dan ahead of this, like I have a 1 QB league where I've got the 203 and then the 210 through 212. And right now, my intention going into that is to just stack wide receivers and get as many shots at that as I can. And so, but if Justin Fields falls to 203 and like Tylan Wallace, Elijah Moore aren't there, I feel like I'd have to take Fields. I mean, it looks like based off of this, I'll have a shot at one of those wide receivers, but you never know. Everyone could fade running back. But with that in mind, like I do like Tamori and Terry at 3-1 because I think there is potential he could swing up into the second round depending on where he falls in the draft. So I like that pick, and I like the Mac Jones 4-3 pick too because all these guys in the top 5 quarterbacks could flop, but there's potential for Mac Jones to be like a system quarterback and just be a serviceable, like Kirk Cousins level guy for 10 years in the league. And that you want stability on your dynasty team, and you can always trade for the boom upside.
I'll be honest. I'm going to completely disagree with you there. In a 1 QB league, in a dynasty league, and obviously it's very dependent on how deep the rosters are, like it is league dependent, but I don't know if I would draft Mac Jones probably, but I don't think I'd take him before the 5th round. I don't honestly think I would draft Jamie Newman, Kyle Trask, Kellen Mond. Maybe I would draft Davis Mills. Maybe it depends on landing spot. But in a 1 QB league, I don't think the upside of it is worth it, because knowing what it costs to get a starting QB in a 1 QB, even if it's a dynasty league, like as someone who is in a rough quarterback situation in my main dynasty league that is 1 QB, I mean, I can pick.
You mean like it's easier to trade for a quarterback?
It's easier because they just don't have the value. And someone like Mac Jones is not going to offer that much upside. Like, for instance, I think Jalen Hurts we saw going in the 4th, 5th round last year, but that's Jalen Hurts.
Irrelevant last year. And I took him.
But that's the thing, is his upside. It was always a matter of if he becomes the starting quarterback, he's a top 5 quarterback in fantasy. I've believed that since day one, and I'm a Carson Wentz believer. But,
you're an Eagles fan.
And a depressed one at that. But Mac Jones is not that. Mac Jones's upside is Kirk Cousins, but how relevant is Kirk Cousins for fantasy? Yes, he's consistent. He is dependable. But on a week-to-week basis, sometimes he's in the top 12. And if you're only starting one quarterback, how valuable is that really? Depending on who else is on the board. And again, league dependent, depends how readily available quarterbacks are in general. But I don't know. I would you rather have Mac Jones or flip the pick for like Ryan Fitzpatrick or something? I don't know. I mean,
getting into the trade conversations is totally different because every league is different. Everyone has like different willingness to trade at things like that. Someone could have 3 really solid quarterbacks. You could trade for one of them with this pick and like a late future pick. Like 5th round picks in a rookie draft to me you can trade them. Like, I feel like they're a dime a dozen, and you might find a diamond in the rough, but like those I'm not really thinking about in terms of drafting, like using that on a quarterback. Like, that's fine if you do that. But like Mac Jones, if he ends up being a top 10 pick in this draft, and it's very likely that he is because of how the quarterback position is valued, the team that drafts him is going to be super invested in his success. And that gives you a lot of time to evaluate him and if he's going to be a serviceable member of your dynasty roster. And so I'd rather have him than any of the running backs that went after. I mean, if you want to shoot for the fences on a wide receiver you really like if you like Anthony Schwartz enough to take him over Mac Jones or Cornell Powell, I say go for it, because wide receivers, if they hit, have a ton of longevity.
Yeah.
But these 4 running backs that all went after Mac Jones, I would want Mac Jones over those guys just because of the position he plays.
Yeah, and I'm in full agreement on that too. I mean, yeah, he's not a sexy like fantasy pick, but like Max said, he's gonna get the draft capital. I mean, we could all be very wrong, and he somehow drops into late first or second, but like,
nah, he won't.
From what we know, he's gonna get that high draft capital, and yeah, Kirk Cousins is a back half QB1, maybe high end QB2. Like he's a top 15 fantasy quarterback. So like, yeah, that's not terrible. I mean, it's not great for winning a league, but like if you have a high end quarterback, like you have Pat Mahomes, and then you can get Mac Jones as like a backup, and like, oh sick, I have like a safe quarterback too. Like if something happens, like you can still do something with it. So in that, especially in like the 4th round for Mac, I'll scoop him up in a 1 QB league, because it does. He's, and people hate safe in fantasy football for some reason. But like he's safe, but like he's a good safe. Yeah, he might not win you a league. He's not going to throw 45 points like a Mahomes 45-point game, but like he's going to be good enough where like if the rest of the team, like if you're good at fantasy football and like can draft a good team, Mac Jones isn't going to kill you.
Yeah, and I don't want to have name bias here with him, Mac Jones, but I think, and maybe this isn't even a good comparison, but like we see the teams that go to the Super Bowl that like the NFL teams that are getting steals with Dak Prescott and Russell Wilson, like from a contract perspective, like if you take a quarterback like Mac Jones in the 4th round, you're using that other draft capital instead of Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields on the best wide receivers and running backs in the draft, because you're likely not drafting 2 quarterbacks. And in a 1 QB league, you should be able to win. Like maybe it's different nowadays, but in the past, the late round QB strategy, if you still believe in that, it can work, and it should be able to work in Dynasty just as much as it can work in redraft.
I guess I don't think I really disagree with anything that you guys have said. I guess what it comes down to is just like, so rookie quarterbacks hardly ever have fantasy value. Like, that's just, that's facts. I mean, Justin Herbert literally broke records, and he was like the quarterback 8 or 9. Which, by the way, I looked, Kirk Cousins was the quarterback 11. So yeah, back end quarterback 1. Justin Herbert broke records, was the quarterback 11. And he had some rushing. It was minimal, but probably like 15, 20 yards a game, something like that. I don't feel like looking it up, but I guess where my mind is at is knowing that about quarterbacks is how long does it take for Mac Jones to become fantasy relevant? Probably 2 to 3 years. And by fantasy relevant, I'm saying like start him every week and you're not at a negative. And I consider in a 1 quarterback league, a negative being you're not starting one of the best 12 quarterbacks in the league. Maybe one of the best one of the top 15, because it's a 1 quarterback league. And at that point, the way that I look at it is, okay, if I'm looking for a backup quarterback, would I rather have Mac Jones, or would I rather just, trade absolute garbage nothingness for Matt Ryan? I'd rather have Matt Ryan, because I know what he's going to do. And I guess what it really just comes down to is I'm not against Mac Jones being on my fantasy team, but I think there's just a lot of other plus EV moves that I would do before spending draft capital on Mac Jones, when 10 years from now, when he's still playing and doing the exact same thing that he was doing 7 years before, because he's a Matt Ryan, Kirk Cousins type, I can trade a 4th round pick for him. And he's going to give me more value on a week-to-week basis than he did during his rookie year, if that makes sense.
I think that's the conversation, though. Like right now, like if you can get Mac Jones in the 4th round, are you going to get Matt Ryan? Can you trade the 2021 4th for Matt Ryan right now?
I mean, probably not straight up, but I don't think it's also hard to, like, I got Matt Ryan literally as a throw-in in a trade in a 1 QB in my 1 QB league, because I needed a backup quarterback. Like, that's
like context specific, though. I feel
I know, but like if
the guy threw it in because he thought he needed it to seal the deal, or
we were making a trade based around other players. and I needed a little bit more value on my side or the other way around. And I said, okay, throw in a backup quarterback. Like, because in a 1 quarterback league, as long as you have, 2 starters, you're fine.
Yeah.
I didn't have 2 starters because Carson Wentz was getting benched. But I was still the number 1 seed. Like, and again, this is very context specific, but that's all a fantasy. Like, every day there's going to be a trade that happens where you're just kind of like, what the hell is that? But like that's how we figure out what value is in the community, generally speaking, is by looking at these trades and understanding. And it probably is maybe a little shallower than some leagues. It's only 10 teams. So that probably plays into it as well compared to 12 teams. My quarterbacks were still absolute garbage in a 10 team, which shows you exactly how I value quarterbacks.
You also said at one point in your take there that you would trade Mac Jones for a 4th round pick, where I agree. I'm literally trading my 2021 4th round pick.
No, I said I would,
this scenario for Mac Jones.
No, but that's the thing. I would do that 7 years down the line, because if I take him with a 4th round pick right now, he's not putting up startable fantasy quarterback numbers in a 1 quarterback league, which I consider to be top 12 quarterback numbers on a week-to-week basis until probably his 2nd or 3rd season, because he doesn't have that rushing floor. Okay. To be a top 12 quarterback consistently, you need to be throwing the ball like Kirk Cousins, who is one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league and has 2 really great weapons. Mac Jones is not going to be that until his 3rd year in the NFL, not from an NFL's perspective, but from a fantasy perspective. So I would much rather just trade for Matt Ryan now, get 2 or 3 years out of him, and then once Mac Jones is putting up back-end QB1 numbers and he's constantly undervalued, like Kirk Cousins is all the time, I'll just flip a 4th round pick for him. Because you can get those type of guys, the unattractive, not running quarterbacks that, they're
how many viewers do
we
still have right now?
We have 4.
It's just us.
No, it's not just
I forgot if I still have YouTube up.
Well, then maybe 3.
I
know we're talking way too about.
I thought about taking this offline, but I'm curious of your take on this. So, like right now, today, and this is direct application for my 1 QB league. Okay. Who would you rather trade a 4th round pick for, or trade away for a 4th round pick? Who would you rather give up for a 4th round pick to take another shot in this draft? Would you rather give up Dwayne Haskins, or would you rather give up Justice Hill?
Wait, I'm trading away a player?
Let's say you're trading away one of those players for a 4th round pick. Who would you rather hold on to?
If someone is giving me a 4th round pick for Dwayne Haskins, I'm pressing yes, and then I'm probably
over Justice Hill. And they'll take either or.
I will probably call the cops and make sure that they're not overdosed if they're giving me a 4th round pick for Dwayne Haskins. The dude who got cut as a 1st round pick before his 3rd full season in the NFL.
Sorry. Let me change the question. Who would you rather hold on your team? Dwayne Haskins or Justice Hill?
Justice Hill.
Because I think all 4 of these running backs are like Justice Hill, and I don't know if I think that they're going to realize value. And Justice Hill was like a 2nd round pick in some 1 QB rookie drafts.
But think of it like this.
I'm holding on to Haskins for the upside that he's the starting quarterback of the Steelers in a year.
But he doesn't have the upside. He's already shown he doesn't have, like, in a 1 quarterback league, starting is not upside. Like you can get a starting quarterback off of waivers, or you can draft Mac Jones, or you can throw out, you can go trade for Matt Ryan on the cheap because he's crazy undervalued, or Kirk Cousins. Whereas if I draft Puka Williams, who profiles as a receiving type back, okay, I draft him in the 4th round. Now let's think he goes to the Eagles. Great. The Eagles have Miles Sanders, Boston Scott. They drafted Puka Williams to be their 3rd running back. Miles Sanders gets injured. Boom. He's out for 6 to 8 weeks. Boston Scott looks like absolute garbage. All of a sudden, Puka Williams is a starter. And because he's a receiving profile back, he all of a sudden has starting fantasy value until Miles Sanders is back. What can you trade Puka Williams for right now to a contender? I can probably get at least a 2nd round pick, if not a 1st round pick, if someone is really desperate to contend. Meanwhile, if Dwayne Haskins is the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I am never getting that. Because 1, he was not drafted by them. He has no draft capital. They have no investment in him. 2, we already know he's not good. And 3, even if he's decent, it's the 15th quarterback in a 1 quarterback league.
I'm probably being a little too influenced by Superflex. So I think,
and that's the thing.
I think you post a fair argument. I don't know if Dan, you have anything else to add to that. I want to give you a chance at least.
I mean, it's tough. I think it's always going to be team dependent, so it's just the easiest cop out answer. But like in this draft, for example, yeah, I'm taking Mac Jones after, like you said, over all 4 of those running backs, and like, yeah, I think Duncan makes a really great point of like Puka goes somewhere and like the starter gets hurt and like the backup kind of looks kind of shitty, so then like he gets what was that? He gets some like.
All right, I think that was me.
Yeah, I think that was Chicago.
He could get some wrong and like
do it.
You could like flip him for like even a third. Yeah, I get it. I don't know. I still think someone like Mac Jones, who's going to be a starter, I think presents better like immediate team value to you, and like I guess maybe it's just risk management of like who do you think?
Agree. I think he has more immediate team value. I agree 1,000%.
Yeah.
Like literally 1,000%. He almost definitely, barring a crazy good landing spot for one of those 4 guys, has more team value. But in the 4th round, I'm not like if I'm looking to the 4th round to get immediate actual team value, one, I'm fucked. That's not good. Like I'm in trouble if I'm really, really hoping and praying for my 4th round pick to work out. Like that
There's
is
a reason I don't have a 4th round pick this year.
Exactly.
But like I think that maybe we're getting a little off the point of like you bring up some good points, Michael. Yeah. I think that they're not like, but mock drafts are so draft centric. So maybe Dan and I are like kind of standing on the take of like Mac Jones is the pick in this mock because we're doing this mock in a vacuum. But the trade side of it, like if you can, turn one player from the 4th round into, another pick in the future that's way higher, like that's the long game, the long-term flip, which I think is smart. And we're probably just thinking about it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Well, like,
and
even if you're a contender, like if you can send like 211 for like Matt Ryan, yeah, I'd send. And like if I was like going for like the fantasy like Super Bowl, yeah, I'd probably end up doing that even too. So like I guess I get it. I don't know. I just don't know if I believe in any like I've also looking at it like this running back class, and I guess that's too like take specific, but like any of the late running backs in this year, like I don't think like at best you're gonna have like a 2-week sell window.
Yeah, like, I mean, I'm going heavy wide receiver in this. Like,
but a 2-week sell window, man. Like, it's very, and again, I agree, but a 2-week sell, you can get a lot in a 2-week sell window.
So. But I mean, like out of like their careers.
I know but like think every season there are those couple of guys that we see in at the entire fantasy.
You're telling me that I'm supposed to clog a roster spot with Justice Hill for the off chance that Dobbins gets hurt and that Justice Hill gets on the field.
I'm not at all saying that you should have Justice Hill on your roster, but I'm saying I would 100% roster Justice Hill over Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne Haskins in a 1-quarterback league is worth it. You can drop him. He is so useless. He's so bad.
If quarterback's so important, why wouldn't I just hold dart throws at quarterback to make sure I get the next Deshaun Watson, whoever?
No, the next Deshaun Watson is getting drafted in the first round in the top 10
if quarterback's not important, why can't I just draft Mac Jones and then I've got this solid low floor?
Why would you draft someone that's not important?
Because the 4th round pick isn't important.
So why wouldn't
we're just talking about selling off our 4th and 5th round picks? Like, if I have one, use it on a quarterback. Like I used the 412 on Jalen Hurts last year. Now I've got Deshaun Watson, who's going to ride the pine all season.
Jalen Hurts has upside. Mac Jones.
Jalen Hurts has upside because he's starting.
No, he had. Well, yes, but he had upside when he got drafted because of his legs. Mac Jones will never have the upside of Jalen Hurts. That is the NFL that we live in right now. It is how fantasy football works. It's the Konami code. He will never have that upside unless he learns how to run. And maybe we're completely wrong and he knows how to run and he's going to average 30 yards per game in the NFL. If so, he's a fucking steal. But Jalen Hurts,
not at his cookie weight. He's not.
Jalen Hurts
running.
Well, exactly. Jalen Hurts is already a top 2 rushing quarterback in the NFL. Like he's one of the most prolific rushers to enter the NFL other
Is
than
he-
Lamar Jackson.
Is
Yes.
he good though, Michael?
No, maybe. Undecided. As a quarterback, I'm not sure. As an athlete, yes. As a rushing quarterback, yes. Can he throw the ball? I don't fucking know. But I
That's
don't care. It doesn't matter because it's a one quarterback league and he can rush the ball. He was a top 5 quarterback in the 4-game stretch that he started and played.
Yeah, 2 good
Is
games
there-
and 2 bad games, right?
Roughly, yeah. But even in his bad games,
1.5.
well,
I get
good
where you're
NFL
coming from.
games. He rushed the ball in the games that were his bad NFL losses, and he was still fantasy relevant.
Yeah,
I believe
I
he
get
was
you.
the quarterback 3 in that stretch, if I
So
remember correctly.
here's where I think this really goes.
I'm really
you
glad that
need
we're
to
spending
fix
20 minutes talking about
Fantasy
this.
scoring. Oh, sorry.
No,
Go
no.
ahead. Go ahead.
I would say, like, I think honestly, like, where this really goes, and like especially one quarterback leagues, is fixing fantasy scoring for quarterbacks. And I get we're like an hour and 15 minutes into this, and this is a wild can of worms to
This is
open.
what
It
happened
doesn't
last
matter.
time too.
We're already here.
Yeah, but like fantasy scoring should get fixed for quarterbacks. It should better reflect like the actual NFL. Good quarterbacks matter in the NFL. Shitty quarterbacks are shitty.
What if
So
I
I
told
think-
you that this league I'm in is 5 points per passing touchdown? I don't know if that balances anything. I just had to bring that
legitimately
up
changes
because
things.
I had to
I will
bring that
say
up because I
Better than
remember.
4.
I don't think it's night and day because again, you're
yeah.
still getting because I think the big difference really is in rushing yards versus passing yards.
Yeah,
Um,
of course.
But like there's a very large movement out there. Like I know Jason Moore of the Footballers is like really into it where it's equalize it. You know, like don't give the same points for rushing as a quarterback for a running back. You know, like don't do 1 point per yard. Do it, you know, whatever it is for passing or whatever. And I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just where we're at right now is if you can rush the ball as a quarterback, you're broken. It's the Konami code.
Well, I
Up,
think
up, down, left, right, BA start.
yeah, I don't know.
Close enough.
I wasn't a gamer. I like, and that doesn't even bother me to like because a yard is a yard is a yard, right? Like in real life football, if I throw for 5 or what's up Z, right? If I throw for 5 or run for 5, like my team is still getting 5 yards. So like that doesn't bother me, but like, you know, have like even like the Scott Fishbowl thing was fucking brutal for some people. Like I had Tom Brady last year in Scott Fishbowl, and like in one of the games he threw 4 interceptions. I had like negative points for that. But that's how it should be. Right?
I agree.
Get hardcore negative points for interceptions. You should get negative points for incompletions and positive for complete. Like there should be those things in normal fantasy football to make good fantasy quarterbacks viable and bad ones not viable. Because that gives credence to one quarterback leagues.
I think the variance is a little tough there because for people who aren't like fantasy degens like us,
yeah,
the points swing so negative that if you do decide to be like, oh, throw Kirk Cousins in my lineup and he has a shit week, like you're dead in the water. But I do agree with you. Like quarterback's the most important position in football. We should give more credence to that in fantasy. And that's why we've adopted Superflex in so many instances. Like Superflex makes you prioritize quarterback at the top and then identify the best quarterback for your Superflex spot. But it doesn't force you into that either. Like, yeah. I mean, I'm in a 10-team league where it's 2 QB because that's easy enough to manage. But then there's like this risk reward of like, do I roster a 3rd QB? Because I'm going to have to like have one to fill in eventually. So that's really interesting. But Superflex in general, I think gives you, again, the flexibility, but really ups the ante on the quarterback side, whether it's a guy who's, a Mac Jones or a Trey Lance.
Mm-hmm.
I do just want to, while we're talking absolute nonsense,
hey, this isn't nonsense. This down here is nonsense.
Should not be in fantasy football. The end. That's my take.
If he's going to be a fan in Scott Fishbowl, you can let him know kickers are a flex.
No,
I just became a huge fan of Jacob Rossi.
That's your cousin, right?
No, my cousin was he was candidate 999 Ben. No, Jake Rossi is just a good friend. We played in one fantasy league together. I don't think he's played fantasy for like 3 years now. He's just he loves kickers and he loves punters. His favorite player is Pat McAfee. He's a Colts fan.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Pat McAfee's awesome.
Yeah.
But that's like I don't think it's the first jersey because I think he had Reggie Wayne, but I think the second jersey he owned was Pat McAfee. So if he's a big,
anyone with a humor that can go first time, long time. What's your rookie kicker take? I'm a big fan of him. So
yes,
Jacob.
There it is. Yeah,
I got a Rob Baronis jersey once, like a T-shirt jersey. Rest in peace, Rob Baronis. But I was pretty sold on him in the early 2010s. It's the Titans kicker. He had 8 field goals in one game once.
I remember him.
Stud.
I remember him. See, I've been out on kickers in fantasy ever since I had a team with Pat Mahomes in his MVP season, Dalvin Cook, George Kittle in his breakout, Saquon, Michael Thomas, Antonio Brown when he was still on the Steelers. Basically, I had top 5 at every single position, except I lost in the first round of the playoffs because the dude had Kyami Fairbairn, and Kyami Fairbairn had over 30 points that week, and I lost. I was the first seed. I was undefeated in the regular season, and I lost in the first round.
Well, you should have a bye in the first round.
Sorry, I lost in the second. I lost in my first game. I had a bye in the first round. I lost to the 6th seed. All right,
no one cares about our fantasy teams.
I care.
Should we get out of here?
Any final thoughts about Mac Jones and where we should be drafting him and how we should value quarterbacks in a 1 quarterback league? See, that was off topic, but at the same time, that's why we wanted to do this as a 1 quarterback draft. And I think it actually was.
Depends on your team.
Yeah,
Depends on your team and what you're trying to do.
I think at the end of the day, if it's a first round quarterback, you got to take the stat. Like in the 4th round of a 1 quarterback, like I get it. But if he's a first round guy, he has that draft capital. Like, he's going to be invested in for at least 4 years. And
I will say, I think my
point.
take got a little bit out of hand. I don't actually have an issue with Mac Jones going in this draft. I have an issue with all the other guys because they aren't, projected to go in the top 10.
Yeah.
I was more speaking to the overall value of players like Mac Jones, and like reaching on them. So I want to get my take under control before we shut it all down. Because,
I mean, my last nugget from
that got a little insane.
I've adopted from the Undrafted podcast is just build up that bank. If you're rebuilding, build up that bank of young wide receivers that you're going to have for years on end, and then trade for, like you said, Michael, the quarterback you need on your roster, and trade for the stud running backs you need.
Yep.
And the tight end.
Don't overdraft these running backs, especially if this class isn't that great. Like there might be 4 or 5 that I'm actually comfortable taking.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, I think they all offer, and I will know more after the draft, but I think, taking them in the later rounds isn't necessarily a bad thing.
I just said last week, I feel like the pathway to opportunity in the early years is going to be so much harder this year because the running back class from last season was gangbusters. Like you could name everyone that we're projecting to be
all the
so
top guys
good now.
The top guys.
Yeah.
Were.
Like I don't know if I'll write it out. I'll tweet it or something. Just another point against the running backs.
Yeah, I don't know. There's some later guys that I really like in this class, and I think they're worth drafting. But I think what we keep saying is it all depends on the value that you're putting into them. It's where you don't reach on them.
Yeah.
Exactly. Outside of the top couple of guys, but if you're getting a guy at the 4.7 or the 4.5, that again, the value is so throwaway to begin with. If you can get a guy there that has a path to any type of relevance in their first 2 seasons, you take it, because the James Robinson, as unlikely as it is, can happen. The Aaron Jones 5th round guy, it can happen, and you're not gonna get that most of the time, but you might get the guy that might be relevant for 3 weeks, and in that 3 weeks, you're gonna get people trading. It's a wide receiver, but look at Travis Fulgham. He was the wide receiver 1 for a month.
Yep.
People gave up a lot for him. Again, wide receiver, it's different. It's a different amount of value, but with how scarce running backs are, I see crazy trades all the time. I gave away. Do you remember Jonathan Williams? The dude, he was relevant. He was relevant for like 2 weeks because
Jesus.
Yep. At the end of not last season, but the season before.
Yeah.
I right before the trade deadline, I was able to flip him for a second round pick. I picked him up off of waivers that week. And it's because he was all of a sudden a starting running back in the NFL and he was coming off of a 20-point week. And the dude was like, I need to get better because I want to be able to win the championship.
I mean, that's a huge tip for this season in particular, because everyone's going to try to find James Robinson.
Yep.
And pretty much every running back in that tier is not going to end up having the same longevity across the season as James Robinson.
Because typically there's going to be someone there to take the carries away from them eventually.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. James Robinson, there was literally no one because Fournette was cut. The one dude had forever COVID and
almost died.
Exactly. And Chris Thompson might have died. I'm not sure. He just stopped showing up.
Chris Thompson just became irrelevant.
Well, yeah.
That was weird, right?
I was hyped
I thought
on
they
him.
had, didn't they have Divine Ozigbo too?
Yeah, but I think he was injured
They
as
just
well.
weren't good.
Yeah, he got hurt. Ryquell got COVID.
Yep.
And Thompson
And they
fell
didn't
off
cut.
the face of the earth.
Thompson was supposed to be like
Isn't that
fairly relevant.
Yeah.
Was Jay Gruden the OC the entire year?
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is why people thought that Chris Thompson was going to be relevant.
I thought he might have gotten
'cause he was
fired at one point, but
Nah, he got fired at the end of the season when everyone got fired in Jacksonville.
Okay.
So,
wait, I guess we'll end with one last thing because I thought of this earlier today. What are the chances? This is my dumb brain thinking, by the way. Urban Meyer takes Justin Fields with the #1 overall pick.
oh, stop it!
And on the sauciest
If you do,
thing
if that
possible.
happens, I will buy you a beer, and
Oh,
I will
great.
drive it to Chicago. You I will hand deliver it for if Justin Fields goes first overall.
I would say, considering Jacksonville gave Trevor Lawrence their playbook already, slim.
I forgot about that. Fuck. No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That'd be the biggest prank ever.
Nah, dude, that would be. Oh man, the Twitter.
It's not even the actual playbook.
It stays like that I would live to be on Twitter.
All right.
Yeah,
Sorry, we can end on something else if you guys want.
If Nico Collins goes in the second round, I'm going to send Dan a beer. That's where I'm sitting at. That's my ending note.
More likely than mine.
Yeah,
I think it could happen, so I'm excited.
It's very interesting. At Term, I might have to look a little bit more into Nico Collins because Term said he disagreed with me vehemently.
If I have Randall on my side, I feel like that's a win already. So,
I mean, I don't think any of us really know what the NFL's thinking. But I am curious as to why Term feels the way he does about the NFL liking Nico Collins.
Probably the same reason John Lobb does, to be honest.
Well, John Lobb's also a Michigan diehard, so I was going to bring that up earlier, but
He hates Harbaugh.
Right. Like, I think he sees maybe what NFL people see is that Nico Collins was good, but in a bad offense.
Yeah, that's fair.
So he could be good. So that's why I like, Dan, I listened to the same podcast that you listened to. And then I was Nico Collins. Okay, we have to look into this now.
Well, and even to that point in the mock, I said this is a wild reach, but
yeah,
maybe
what happens when you get
the mocks. They got to be spicy.
Yeah,
that's why I was going to take Mac Jones in the third round, but somehow misclicked.
Dude, if you're taking Mac Jones in the third, I guess you tried to.
That was 310. Yeah, I tried to.
310's not that different.
He was the last of the top 5 QBs.
But I would have argued harder if he went in the third round. That's for sure.
We would have had a different conversation for sure.
Yeah, even more cursing.
All right.
Yeah. But all right. Well, if you're still here, I don't know why, but thank you for tuning in. If you're listening back to this in the future, not sure why you're still listening, but thank you.
You made it.
I hope you learned something from this, and hopefully it wasn't from me. Hopefully it was from one of those two guys. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us in the mock if you were in it. And subscribe to the YouTube page, The Undroppables. Follow us on Twitter at The Undroppables. We have Draftathon coming up. We're going to be on live stream on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, all throughout the draft, starting an hour before the draft starts each of the 3 days on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Make sure to tune in. We're going to have guests the entire weekend talking about the live fantasy impact that these picks are going to be having. And we have a rookie draft guide coming out. It's going to be coming out shortly after the draft. That's going to tell you everything you need to know for your rookie mocks so you can do better than we did in this one. But yeah, anything I missed, guys?
I think you nailed it.
Awesome.
Good job, Michael.
Thanks. Well, follow us on Twitter. That's Andrew Mackins at Andrew Mackins. That's at AWL Sabermetrics, and I'm at MP Duncan 75. Have a good one. See ya.
Adios.
Peace.